G2G.
G2G. So we are recording.
Recordando.
Oh, so
Estamos.
fun times were had by a lot of people. What the heck is so?
Fun times were not
Oh,
had by the Turkish people on this day in 1821.
can you tell our wonderful millions of listeners why that is?
It is a double holiday. It is both the Feast of the Annunciation and Greek Independence Day today.
What was the other one?
The Feast of the Annunciation.
What is this?
That is the celebration of Jesus' conception.
Okay.
Fun 9 months before Christmas. But fun fact, this was a holiday before Christmas, and they used this date to calculate Christmas. So they didn't go backwards from December 25th. March 25th was the original holiday, and then to
Mm.
calculate Christmas, they went forward 9 months.
What a story, Mark.
What a story,
How's
Mark.
your sex life?
Would you to know why?
So we are here to talk about John Wick Chapter 4.
John Wick Chapter 4. You may remember our Scream episode where we also spent about half the time talking about John Wick Chapter 4.
This is
We had not seen John Wick Chapter 4.
but now we have.
But this episode is particularly dedicated to John Wick Chapter 4.
Man, listen, all right. The last episode was about the hype leading up to John Wick Chapter 4.
Yes.
Now we actually have.
And I don't know if anything this year will match the hype that we felt for John Wick Chapter 4.
I don't think there's any movie that I can think of
coming out this year
that I am hyped about to the level of John Wick.
Me neither.
And I honestly think I was very excited for John Wick 4, but I think initially I was like, I honestly don't know what they could do to get me like super invested.
It was them reviews.
It was the reviews.
It was them good. It was them good reviews.
It was them good reviews indeed. I had John Wick as my second most anticipated of the year. Right behind Quantumania.
And you hyped Quantumania up more than
most people did, I think. I was willing to give them more of the benefit of the doubt.
But more than Guardians?
Because it was a starter. Just because it was a start of Phase 5.
Guardian might have. Well, it won't be as hyped as John Wick, and it was and to be fair, the reviews for John Wick.
That's really what skyrocketed.
Yeah, the hype.
Because it was like you would see maybe one review would be like, "Oh, this is so good." I'm like, "Well, there's one review."
Yeah.
But then there was another review, and then another review, and then another review.
And these reviews weren't like,
reviews
were like,
"This is the best thing."
10 out of 10. And you know what?
It really, truly is. So we're gonna go into the movie. So it's a very basic movie, so we can actually go through plot very quickly. John is trying to get out from under the high table.
Yeah. Trying to get out from under.
He's trying to get out from under the high table. He has to do some fetch quests. He has to do 3 very specific like missions, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. Take some all around the world. This is really probably the most globetrotting one
that there's been.
Yeah, because then you feel it be globetrotting. Like in all the other movies, he's traveled.
Yeah.
Besides, obviously, the first one, which takes place entirely in New York.
Yeah.
But like in 2, he goes to Rome. In 3, he goes to. How
long is he in the Middle East for? Was this the first one he was in Japan?
The first time he was in Japan. He was in, I think, Morocco, wasn't it?
He was in Morocco.
In the last one for a couple scenes, and then he goes back to New York.
Yeah.
But in this one, like, he is all over the place, and he stays all over the place for a long time.
Yeah.
This is the least New York based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beats all linger in this film.
Yeah, and this movie follows that 3-act structure, like, very well.
Yeah.
Act 1, it's in Osaka. Act 2, you're in Berlin. Act 3, you're in Paris.
This movie is a no-nonsense steak and potato, but boy, oh boy, like it's a good steak and potato.
It's, to me, I think
it's
of
like
it.
Your first barbecue in May.
I really think of this almost like Endgame, where it's like all business.
Business.
Like you're not setting shit up.
No.
You are here to get a job done.
Business.
Abandon
all hope.
Yeah, which is
with Samuel L. Jackson's best
line. With Samuel L. Jackson. So, speaking of Samuel L. Jackson, he is in this movie. He
He
plays a
plays Lawrence
character known as
Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne, who then plays another character named the Bowery King.
Yeah,
And I would love to listen to the two or three people that listen to this and go, "What the fuck are they talking about?"
yeah, yeah.
That's how long ago?
I don't remember. That's
It's
old.
been a while.
It's old. I just realized on Greek Independence Day, the man who plays the elder,
George Giorgio,
excuse me,
Giorgio,
George, in English you would say Georgiou. It's properly Georgiou.
Giorgio.
Georgiou is Greek. He is
Huh?
Greek.
He's Greek.
Greek.
Is he as Greek as Bill Skarsgård is French in this movie?
That name is pretty fucking Greek. That name's pretty fucking Greek.
Ah,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
So fantastic movie, 10 out of 10.
yeah.
Absolutely. Everything, just the escalation from the very beginning to the very, very like last, like even 10 minutes of this movie is just like balls to the wall.
Yes. The whole time, if there's a debate in like what to rate this movie, like it was never below a 4.5. It was always like, is this movie going to be a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5?
Yeah.
And it crossed the bar for
Oh,
5 out of
100%.
5.
I think
Yeah.
for me, it really relies on one scene, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Right.
But I am excited for more people to see this. I think this could really be the movie that like pushes more people to go see the original movies.
Yeah.
If they haven't seen those movies and they hear people talk about this, they go, "Oh, maybe I should check this out."
You do need to, even though this is like, not that you can't appreciate this without seeing the originals, but like,
You don't feel the weight.
correct, as ironically, while this movie pretty much just is like action, like to feel the heaviness and to get invested in the characters, you
For
do need to
sure.
see 1 through 3.
And so let's go ahead and get into our discussion of this. Like even if you haven't seen all the other movies, with the exception of a few characters that are remnants of the last couple, like the only returning characters really are John, Winston, Sharon, and Samuel L. Jackson,
Yeah,
right?
Samuel L. Fishburne.
Samuel L. Fishburne.
And was Lance Reddick sick during like was his death recently unexpected?
Yeah, like I think they didn't know. It says his natural causes,
Because
but
spoiler alert, he's the first one to die in
he's the
this movie.
first one to die,
And
right?
when I saw that, I'm like, I wonder if he was sick, and they knew it, so they
No, I don't think so.
yeah
Because it also wouldn't make sense as far as like his character, because his character really only has one action sequence throughout the story,
yeah
and it's in the third John Wick movie when they're defending the hotel.
yeah that's true.
So I don't think so, but it did seem like it was pretty unexpected.
Yes,
Yeah. But I don't think this was a situation like um Chadwick Boseman, where
where
like
a select few people knew.
yeah, but it
Yeah,
was even then it was like mainly family, I think.
right.
Because I don't even think
Family like Bob Iger, or not Bob Iger.
Kevin
Kevin.
did he
I think Kevin Feige knew,
maybe
and what's his name, director,
Chadwick not Chadwick I don't remember.
the director of those movies. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, but I don't think that was the case. But anyway, yeah. So we start. Yeah, I was watching this movie and I was like, you know, this movie, you feel the difference between this and three because three starts off with like a nonstop, like 30-minute like chase sequence between like John and all the assassins.
yeah,
Like he fights the one basketball player with the ugly face.
yeah. He's the
Um,
one with the kill with the book, right?
yeah, he kills him with a book.
So I was waiting for. I was like, all right, I need my book quality kill. And I didn't get my book quality kill, but once we got scenes that make up for not
For
when
sure.
they're not.
There's nothing as inventive
Yeah.
as that. We do get a pencil kill in this one,
We do get a pencil kill.
which, you know, it's kind of also a fun nod to like the previous movies. Because in the first movie they set up he killed a motherfucker with a pencil.
Pencil, yeah.
In the second movie, you get to see him kill someone with a pencil, and now in this one,
Someone dies with a pencil.
someone dies with a pencil.
Yeah.
But so when we talk about like getting started, like it does feel a bit slow at the beginning, but it's also a 2 hour and 40 minute long movie.
Yeah.
Like They absolutely can earn 20 minutes of not relentless like violence.
And that setup for that opening Osaka Continental scene
Hmm.
is mwah, like
Yeah, and because we they have to set up what escalates like
what escalates how
John going to Osaka,
correct.
right? Because he goes, he kills the elder.
Yep.
Uh, we have a really cool like horseback chase scene where like
Which is in the previews.
it is
Yeah.
slightly, but it really sets up the scale of like these guys are going to be filming in these like really big, like bombastic looking places.
Yeah, when like horse kill in the Moroccan desert is just your like epigraph scene,
Yeah.
then you're in for a rocking good
For
time.
sure. But as the movie goes on, we're introduced to a lot of like really good characters. And we can also touch on them a little bit more. But like the first ones that we obviously meet are and we spend the most time with out of everybody else is the Marquis, I believe.
Yep.
He's such a dick.
Such a dick.
And he's like the kind of dick that you go like, yes, you're threatening, but mostly because you were holding everything over me.
Yes, not by his
Not
own merit. Meritocracy is dead, as
exactly.
some would say.
As some would say,
Right.
as Thano would 100% say.
And he's such a dick that it's only appropriate that he's French. Like no other ethnicity would be able to pull off this brand of assholery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's so blatant about it too.
About his Frenchness.
About his Frenchness. I love that at certain points they just call him the Frenchman
Yeah.
because yeah, that's what he is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. He dresses fantastically.
When he lounges too. He's
Yeah,
lounging.
he's lounging with like
Yeah.
a robe and like
He's wearing
a
afternoon.
vest
He's wearing evening cocktail attire.
for sure. But he does have like this like sense of he has like a very threatening like aura to him too. Like when he's in the room, you're just like it's like a little awkward.
And then, but once again, it's because what you can have older, what he can hold over you. Right?
Exactly.
He's in that. I don't know if that's actually supposed to be. Um, holy shit, Versailles, right? Like I don't know if
It
that's.
kind of felt like it.
But like he basically if it's not Versailles, then like it's basically coded as Versailles.
Yeah.
Like that's his basic palace, right? He's got. I think it's interesting that his like number one henchman's Spanish,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That somehow even makes him more threatening. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. He's a good villain and very satisfying to see.
To see him go down,
Yeah,
right? Because that's what you want. Like it always kind of sucks when you have a bad guy that like is not up to the quality of like everything else.
because he's not John Wick's equal,
No, 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 no.
but the fact that he can commandeer, like,
Yes.
hey, I think Spanish guy would be like in most like 8 out of 10 action movies, he might be enough to be just like the dude, like the main physical threat.
Hmm.
But he's got him and he's got Donnie Yen.
He does.
Yeah,
And I think that's what makes this work so well. So he almost the way I think of it, he is almost like the adversary for Winston,
yeah.
which then plays off of him.
Winston's relationship with John.
Well, not just Winston's, but also Winston's relationship with Sharon,
Mm,
because that's what gets him killed, and then what he wants throughout this whole thing. Yes, he wants his hotel back, right? That's his angle,
right,
but he wants to bring him down as revenge for killing his friend.
right.
And I think at one point he does say, like, what do you want? He's like, oh, what would you want? You want revenge. That's what I want too.
Yeah,
So I think that's more than anything like what he really wants
yeah.
in this. And that makes more sense to me because John would absolutely 100% destroy Bill Skarsgård.
For sure.
Um, but then I think in a more of like a chess player type of situation, that's where I see Winston and the Marquis.
And
being
where he
more
made foils.
unequal,
Yeah.
right? But you mentioned a couple of our new characters. The next big character that we see that we spend a lot of time with is Kane.
Kane.
Kane, which I think is kind of funny that Kane is blind and he uses a cane.
I think that was the point.
They are so on the nose.
Beat
Too far.
and boot caught his nose.
But he's so good.
He is very
He's so good. He has this like weird, almost like
he's more charismatic Rogue One Donnie Yen.
yes. Which, if you want to be typecast as like the blind badass, there's worse things to be typecast as.
There are. There absolutely are.
And if
I'm not even saying Jason Bateman is like a bad typecast, but you could be typecast as Jason Bateman, which is just like the straight man
the
dad.
straight man dad who
And it's not bad, but it's boring.
it's
Vanilla.
very
It's
boring.
vanilla. But I love Jason Bateman. There will not be a syllable said against Jason Bateman on this podcast
That's
as long as I breathe.
That's fair.
It's interesting. We had talked about, I don't know if it was on the last episode or if it was just like talking about like kind of what fills the role of a new, either like the new epic or like just the new IP franchise that's not, Star Wars, not Marvel, not any of the main fantasy things. And we talked about how like John Wick kind of like fills that role. And it very much, especially now, it does very much feel to me like an epic, like an ancient Greek epic.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen is the archetypical blind character who does lack the sight of wisdom because he is constantly betraying his friends in this movie.
Which is fine.
It's pointed out by Hiroyuki Sanada's character, right? Where he's like, you can't even see like our friendship anymore.
Yeah.
And that to me is a creative twist on like, because usually the blind character is, they lack physical sight,
But they're very wise and they're very like knowledgeable.
they have the sight of the mind. But actually, in this case, he has like better physical sight than like most people in terms of how good his other senses make up for it. But he lacks that wisdom sight. Though I will say, I do like that they were able to make him, little things that they did make him actually feel blind. Whereas, like, I think if you watch him in Rogue One, you're like,
yeah, you never really feel like he's blind.
yeah. But this one you do. Like, even as badass as he is, like when he sets up the fucking doorbells, and when he does have to use his cane to like,
to kind of get a reading on where people are.
Yeah.
It's very well done to the point where like, all right, so you do have to suspend some like disbelief 100%.
For sure.
Like, but I think the movie earns that because it's rewarded with like really cool things that serve a purpose for the movie.
If you're going into this movie upset about realism, then you have two brain cells.
That shit sailed many years ago.
Exactly.
And I think that's one of the things that like any review that I've seen for this movie, they always go, yeah, is it logical? No, but it's fucking cool.
It doesn't need to be logical.
This is the rule of cool. This is what we in the D&D community call the rule of cool.
He's the Baba Yaga.
He's the Baba Yaga, right? Like things may not always follow rules as written.
Yeah.
But if it makes it more fun, do what's fun.
I was just upset that the Orthodox Church that they are in Berlin didn't use a proper Orthodox altar. But that's beside the point. We'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there when we get there. So those are the guys that we meet at the beginning, and then we go into Osaka, right? Because of what happened, because John killed the elder, they blow the hell up out of the New York Continental.
Which they do to the New York Continental what conspiracy theorists think that George Bush did to the World Trade Center.
Exactly. Yeah. But you know what? Unlike the Trade Center, it did not fall.
It did not fall.
It did not. Because there's that scene where Winston and Samuel L. Jackson are standing right there. That's not going away. When they're standing by there and they're standing in front of the Continental and it's still standing, just blown up.
I see.
Like all the windows were just shot out.
But it looked like a controlled demolition to me.
Basically, but yeah. And so then we meet some new friends. John gets some new friends introduced. Hiroyuki Sanada, who is I love this man in just about everything that he's in. He was in season 2 of Westworld.
Mm,
He plays, I believe his name is Musashi in it.
yeah.
He's like in the samurai version of Westworld. He's really fucking cool. He was in Bullet Train.
Mm.
Did you see Bullet Train?
And I started watching Bullet Train, but I was too distracted to keep finishing, so I had
Okay.
to put it on pause.
The funny thing about Bullet Train is that like he basically plays the same character.
Oh,
He's
really?
just he's an old guy who's really wise.
Because if you look at his IMDb picture, he do not look that old.
No,
Yeah,
but like they make him look old.
yeah.
Um, he was Scorpion in Mortal Kombat,
Uh,
so he's got this like
he's got the type. He's
typecast
got the type. Yeah.
as the samurai guy, but he's really good at it. And I think they also give him like a really good like fight scene with Donnie Yen.
Have you seen the Star Wars anime?
I have not.
Gotcha. There's a samurai character who I think if that was ever put into live adaptation, Hiroyuki Sanada in this. If you just took Hiroyuki Sanada's character in this movie and made him that character,
Hmm.
it would be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing I like the most about his character in this, he plays Shimasa Koji, and not only is he like just really like nice to John, because you
Mhm.
know, even though John has been essentially marked for dead, like he still honors that friendship above like the table.
He honored that. He
And
honored the autonomy of the Osaka Continental
yes.
above the table.
Hmm.
Very like given the fact that they're making spin-offs, I think like um and clearly his daughter is going to be in a spin-off.
I hope so.
They've I think they've picked good characters of which to spin
Hmm.
movies off of.
And speaking of his daughter, I really like their like banter back and forth because she's his concierge the same way that Sharon is Winston's,
Yeah,
and like
the way they revealed she was his daughter, I thought was actually very well done. That was a very heartwarming line of dialogue.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's like for me it was instant
yeah.
when the way as soon as she was like, oh, don't forget you have
Lunch with your
a
daughter.
lunch with your daughter.
Yeah,
And like she gives him this look, and I was like, "Oh, okay,
that's his
that's
daughter.
funny.
Yep.
That's funny."
Yeah,
And they play with that for a while. It's not until like about a scene or so later
yeah.
that like they blatantly like tell you.
Yeah.
But it's good that like they don't like make it too like, oh, we're being deceitful towards you,
Yeah.
because it works very well. They have really good chemistry as like a mother, as a daughter and father.
The scene where he dies,
Very touching.
you feel those cuts from
Yeah.
Donnie Yen. The swords are so flashy, like it's like the clinging of the steel together just sounds
And
so good.
and the style in which like they fight is like feels both weightless but also like impactful,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that like Kane does in this movie. He's very fast, but like you feel like he's not just tapping them. Like
He's precise.
he is precise, and
Yeah.
he's doing this like very purposefully.
Yeah.
And then the way that he kills him, he like he cuts him up,
Yeah.
but he does want to let him live. He doesn't want to kill his friend.
Right.
But you know, he's not doing this for nothing, right? He's doing it to also save his daughter.
Yep.
And you do feel that he is kind of torn about this. He slacks off throughout like the whole raid on the Continental in Osaka.
Yeah.
He's like eating ramen. He's just chilling on the, like in the dark.
So actually, moral conundrum.
Yeah.
At first, when I was looking at this movie, I was like, man, what is there to talk about other than just like style? I think you can pivot back to this later if you want. I think you can make the case that John Wick just should have laid down and said, fine, just fucking kill me. Like
Probably.
instead of all the carnage and risking Donnie Yen's daughter's life.
Probably.
Yeah.
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 But you know, at that point,
Oh, correct.
at that point, for what?
it's actually but it's actually like you could have a high schooler to write a paper about this topic. Like
Hmm.
is the fact that he's like fighting for his dignity, like and the
And
dignity of his friend and the
mhm.
Continental worth all the potential, all the potential collateral damage that incurs, especially given the ending.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but and I mean, it does go back to like I think I may have sent you the clip that's from the last movie
Mm.
where Winston tells him like, "Do you want to die as like basically the table's lapdog,
Yeah,
or do you want to die as like a free man?"
that's the
And
conundrum.
that's what he
And
wants.
he dies a free man.
He dies a free man, and he wants to die the way that I think that's what it is. I think he wants to die the way his wife remembers him,
Yeah.
and his wife remembers him as John, just the husband, not John the hitman,
Yep.
right? And so I think that's why I can be like, yeah, that's why he's so relentless in his pursuit of his freedom,
Yeah.
right? We do get a really great action scene in this. It's this one, I think, out of all the fight scenes, this one feels the most like straight choreography
Mhm.
to me. But it's also because there's a lot of the sword fighting, and that
Right.
warrants that, right? You have to be more
Choreographed.
exactly.
Hmm.
But then we have the options. We got the chance to see people fight with bows, which is always a lot of
Always
fun.
fun.
I love archery. I love
Archery's dope.
archers,
Yeah.
and seeing
Especially those little nimble bows that aren't that big that you can shoot like point blank with. Yeah.
and they do have people in there who are using the smaller bows, and they have people who are using the long bows,
Yeah.
and it's always like really fucking cool to see these guys like they're running around in these huge armors, and then they just get like sniped and like thrown against the wall because they're getting hit so hard with these long bows.
Yeah.
I mean, those things are
They're big.
they're
They
massive.
got big
I don't know
enemy
if you've
tactile.
because you've gone to archery with us,
I
right?
have.
And like even those bigger bows, like they are nothing compared to like a long
A long
bow.
bow.
Like
Yeah.
that shit
So they're
will,
they're as tall as a person.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes even taller.
Yeah.
But they are uh, big. You feel that the Continental, while yes, they are able to hold their own,
Yeah.
like the table just has like bodies to throw.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like they do kind of overpower them.
Yep.
I don't know that it's necessarily explicit that like the Continental falls necessarily, but I think, well, what's the point now for Akira, who's the
Yeah.
daughter, right?
If
She's going to go after
she's going to go after Kane.
she's going to go after
Right.
Kane, which I'm glad that kind of does pay off, I guess, at the end.
Oh,
Because she
credits roll.
does, yeah, because she does tell John, she's like, either you kill him
Or I will.
or I'm going to go find him.
Yeah.
And John's like, well, we'll see what happens. That leads us to our second location,
Hmm.
which is Berlin.
And then
I had fun seeing our girl Osha from Game of Thrones.
she's his sister, not sister.
His sister Katya, I
Yeah.
believe, is
Yeah.
her name. So they basically have this great idea of we're gonna get John back into his family,
Correct.
right?
Was she in a previous one?
She was not. It
Yeah.
was the other lady who was like the older,
Jordan. Yeah.
yeah,
The the ballerina.
which is where the ballerina spinoff is coming from, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice that like they keep these like things kind of consistent, where like that idea of he had a family and now the family's gone, like whoop, well now we can bring him back in because they want to keep that consistency. They don't have to find another convoluted way to get back.
Right.
They could just accept him whenever they want. That's not the problem. The problem is the sister wants him to do something, which
Correct.
is to go kill the guy
Kill the
who
guy who
killed
killed their father.
exactly. Who was apparently played by a guy named Scott Atkins.
Okay.
And I think I remember hearing that he does a lot of like stunt work too in like a lot of movies. Um, but he's a very good looking man. He reminds me almost as much of when we saw Penguin,
Mm.
and you go,
Well,
oh,
that's not Colin Farrell.
that's not Colin Farrell.
Oh, it is Colin
And it
Farrell.
is.
Yeah.
It's the same in this one because if you look up what Scott Atkins actually looks like,
It's not like that.
it it just looks like a comic book version of like a fat man.
They do a wonderful job of making him be like this like disgusting mob boss type
Hmm.
character. And once again, ethnicities are used great in this movie because the fact that he speaks with that like German accent just makes it even grosser.
For sure.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, and we also got to meet new friend. Well, new frenemy. Mr. Nobody,
Yeah, who we didn't
right?
talk about in the Osaka arc, but he was there.
He was there. He
Yeah,
shows up.
Shamir
You
Anderson.
know something's up because he's got pictures of John in his book, and he's got like scribbles of how much his bounty has gone up.
What a dedicated journal that is.
Very,
Yeah,
very
lots of sketches.
lots of sketches, lots of
Yeah,
notes, more note taking that than I would do
yeah.
ever. But he's kind of like the other, like animal lover that you go, oh, he's going to bond with John.
He's the blue collar hitman. He's got
Yes,
his dog,
he does not have the fancy
no
suits.
suits, and he just got a shotgun.
He's got a shotgun, which
His
is a
like
very cool,
it's like a
like,
snipeable shotgun.
yeah, it's really nice to see someone in this world a little different. He kind of reminds me almost like the man from the Bowery King,
Yeah,
because like all these hobos, like like he's not like them because he's not a beggar in the street,
correct.
right? So he's his own like complete like wild card here.
Is he under the table?
I think technically he is.
Yeah,
I don't know. Because he does approach the Marquis in that scene before they go to Berlin,
right.
where he's basically like, hey, if you give me money, I will tell you where John is.
He's very good at negotiating his prices.
I, at the
Yeah,
end,
yes,
yes.
yes.
When his hand's not
But
being stabbed into a table.
but I think the Marquis still gave him his even when the Marquis stabbed him, I think he still gave him his. He would have still given him his price. Although,
He would have
yeah,
given him his price,
but
yes.
it was initially contingent on just location, and then he demanded John Wick's life.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because that was the whole thing. He
right.
said, you'll pay me for tracking him, right?
Yeah,
And then it wasn't until he's at the nightclub that he's like, well, if you kill him,
right,
that's when you get your money.
right.
Um, but I like having him as this like unknown factor
Yeah,
where you're like, what is the price that he feels like is worth risking his life to go after John?
because the thing is, Kane, and John are all likable, and they're all in opposition to each other. So
Yeah,
that just always makes it more interesting because you're always rooting for them, even though you're mostly rooting for John,
yeah, exactly.
and you
It's
ultimately
contradictory.
it's contradictory, and you ultimately want them to be like best good buds.
Yes, you want them all to go on an adventure together,
Yeah,
and it's so much fun to see his like his interaction with his dog.
yeah.
How he I think at one
Nuts.
point he says like I love my dog more than like anybody else. I would choose my dog over anybody
I don't remember that, but I believe you.
basically. So he has something along those lines.
Yeah,
But his dog is a fucking menace, dude.
he is.
I like the very
He's
first
lean.
kill, the first dog kill, where like it's just a white shot. You see a guy walking, and the dog just pops out of like the ground. It reminded me of. Have you seen the movie Eight-Legged Freaks?
No, I haven't, but I remember that movie coming out.
It's like giant radioactive spiders, and
Yeah.
they have these the trapdoor spiders,
Oh,
and they would also climb up from like burrows and grab
and they were
people.
just
It just reminded me of that.
yeah.
Um, but he's in the Berlin nightclub, and all three of them show up. They have a poker game with his name is Killa in the movie.
Killer. Wow.
Killa, yeah. Um,
Wow.
what?
Wow. Anyway, textbook John Wick nightclub scene. Everybody's having a rocking good time.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Yeah.
There people are getting shot.
Yeah.
People are getting stabbed with axes,
Yeah.
and ain't no one do a damn thing.
And what's unrealistic is you're like, this isn't in America.
And so yeah, it may not be. So my interpretation of this is like these people are in this nightclub. I'm assuming these people kind of know that shady shit goes on in this
But
nightclub.
they're not assassins.
They're not
Yeah.
assassins,
Yeah.
but I think at the same time they're not
They're not
not
boy,
used
they're
to
not Boy
like
Scouts.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
not used to like shit going down here. So they're probably like, just whatever, a
Yeah.
normal scuffle.
Yeah.
But I think it's ones like they see the big boss get taken down, and they go, oh shit got real.
Imagine paying that kind of money for that kind of ticket. Can't even get a fucking appetizer. Just kidding.
This is so they show this in the trailer. They have like a big fight scene with axes, handheld axes.
Yeah.
That was good. I think if I had to choose out of the three, this is probably my least favorite of like the action sequences. They're all still very good, but I feel like this is the one that brought the least
Least, wait, yeah, this is towards the end of Berlin is where the movie starts to like drag a little bit.
A little
And
bit.
I'll say it does. It's not criminally too long, but there are points where you're like, all right,
We gotta move.
yeah,
You can only see someone get stabbed
so many
so many times
times.
before you go, okay, let's.
And this is the fourth John Wick movie. Yeah,
But also it's also very telling that you watch these movies and yes, you might kind of feel like it's getting a little too long, but you still appreciate everything that they're doing.
because every scene is perfectly done.
Everything is great. Like the choreography is
The choreography is great. The
perfect.
staging's great.
The
The cinematography is
cinematography is
great.
great.
The
The way
fucking
everything is shot, the way
this
everything is like lit.
the
The
sound,
sound is
the
fantastic. I think
music, right?
the music is great.
Yeah, it's like having too much ice cream. But you're like, it is
It's ice
still
cream.
fucking ice cream,
It's
right?
it's still it's good ice
Yeah,
cream, not
yeah.
just like shitty dollar store ice cream.
Like it can be too much mushrooms, and you're like, rubber shit.
Yeah, the
Not even
way
not even a damn vegetable.
to kind of go along with that, I think this is almost like going to like a Texas de Brazil type of place, like
Mm,
where like yes, you have all of this steak
yeah,
and it's delicious, and then sometimes you're like, oh, maybe I had too much steak,
right.
but at the end of the day, you still had
But it
steak.
was steak.
It was
It
steak,
was steak.
and it's solid steak,
Yeah.
very solid steak.
I liked how to clarify my metaphor. You used another food metaphor.
Because
In order-
because here's the thing.
yeah,
Ice cream, you would argue, is more bad for you than meat.
probably.
Because
But
I would say meat has like substance.
but ice cream's fucking delicious.
I hate ice cream.
You what?
Okay, let me rephrase.
You
I
what?
don't hate ice cream. I don't love ice cream.
Millions of fans.
You should know this by
We
now. I
have
don't.
been on the air. I know you're not like huge on sweets, but
That's the reason why I'm not a
it's
huge fan of ice cream.
ice cream.
I,
Ice cream. Ice
I
cream.
would rather demolish a bag of chips than
I mean,
devour like a
I'd do
cone of
that
ice
too, but
cream.
like,
Anyway,
yeah,
so this is the first scene also where we see the three of them fight together as friends.
yeah,
And it's fun to see the dog, the tracker, and Kane kind of holding their own, doing their own thing,
uh,
while John goes and takes on the big guy because he has to get that kill to get back
yeah.
into his family's good graces. And I love that once he does, he gets in there.
He just takes a tooth.
He takes a tooth as proof.
I thought he was gonna take the whole grill. He
I
just
thought so
takes,
too, but he
yeah,
just takes the one.
yeah.
But I like how they it's a John Wick movie. You can only go without a stereotype for so long.
Mm.
And these Russians are like, yeah, vodka. Let's coat our bird with vodka. Very, very good. But this takes into my favorite. My favorite section of this movie, hands down, is all of like the France,
Yeah,
the whole France stuff. They set the terms for their fight,
correct. With the
which
cards,
it took me a second to kind of figure out
me too.
what the deal with this was.
But basically, like, there's choices, and then whoever gets
The higher number in the
yeah
draw.
gets the choice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so the terms were they're going to meet
at the
church
at sunrise.
at sunrise.
Pistols.
Pistols.
Yeah,
Because John wanted
John wanted
pistols.
pistols, but he wanted tonight,
He wanted blades.
and the Marquis wanted blades.
Yeah.
So because Kane, he was going to have his second be his first.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And which I wonder how that would pan out because
If it
in
was
the last
blades,
movie he did bash Zero, and Zero was a very skilled like sword fighter.
yeah,
Um, where even if Donnie Yen is a badass, even if I would say he's like John's equal, would John be able to outdo him because of the eyesight?
no, I think Donnie Yen's got him in blades.
Think so?
If they're equals with pistols, then I think it's
I don't think they're equals with pistols.
the first two shots at least were, unless which
That
yeah
was planned, I
yeah,
think.
but I could think Donnie Yen could take him in blades.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair. So we have a big homage to the Warriors during this whole third act. which is having like the radio host kind of like talking to the people over the phone,
correct.
getting basically all the gangs in France to show up and try
Did
to take them out.
is two the movie where the table turns against John, or does the table turn against John in three?
The table turns against John at the
It
end
does
of
two.
two because
Okay.
he kills Centino in the Continental.
So then does do two, three, and four have scenes where there's a bounty on John?
Yes.
Okay.
So two, Centino puts a bounty on John because he knows that John wants to go after him.
Yeah.
He basically wants to tie that loose end after he killed his sister.
Right.
And so that's why they put the bounty on him.
Gotcha.
Once he gets to the Continental, the bounty is cleared, I
Yeah.
believe. And then no, it stays on him.
Yeah.
But he's safe as long as he's in the Continental.
Yeah.
But
One
then
hand on the
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that happens in the third one. He puts
Right.
a hand. But yeah, so we're back with more car action, which I think is great. That whole scene going around the circle.
Americans who are bad at roundabouts can probably empathize.
Why are Americans bad at roundabouts?
I don't know, man.
I don't think they're that difficult.
They're not that difficult. They're pretty great. I'll say if you're in a busy roundabout and that's your first roundabout, then you're like, ah, okay.
It's got to be insane to
Yeah.
drive on that.
But if you're in like, I think if you practice on a tiny roundabout, then the bigger ones make more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
balls to the walls, cars and roundabouts.
yeah, and you have people getting thrown around. One of the things that I think is the most amazing thing about the John Wick movies, no one's died making one of these movies.
Ah,
If you told me secretly that 5 people had died making the last 4 John Wick movies, I'd be like, I 100% believe you.
yeah.
I think I sent you a video. This was a while ago, maybe like a week ago, from like a behind the scenes shot. You see this in the movie. I think I pointed it out to you, where it's a wide shot of like escalators, and this guy just yeets.
Jesus.
He just like flies into the escalator. He tumbles all the way down, and he's like dead, right?
Yeah.
And then they go cut, and he just gets up.
Wow.
And I'm like, God damn! Like
Yeah.
he just like it looks like he got thrown,
Yeah.
and he's landing on a working escalator because the escalators are moving.
Yeah.
Like no matter how much padding, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
It's gotta be such a risk. You take a wrong. I stand up crooked,
Right.
and I'm out for a day,
Right.
right? Like these people,
These
and
stuntmen are amazing.
they're getting thrown into cars. They're it's amazing that no one's died.
And we are not the first to say if there's a movie that gives a case for the Academy Award in stunt work, it's this movie.
It is, and to to a certain degree, I think I told you it also wouldn't be fair.
No,
It would just go to this.
but it's but the thing is like these people are working hard, man.
Like I'm sorry, I love the fact that Brendan Fraser won for The Whale.
Yeah.
He deserved it. He did a great job acting.
Yeah.
But I would much rather award someone who does stunt work
Yeah.
when they're actually putting their life on the line. Like
Yeah.
then there are people who have ended up
Right.
like unable to walk because of stunt work.
Yeah.
And these other people are just like, I wore a fat suit and I
Right.
acted good. And I think the fact that we don't recognize one and we recognize the other, it's
Yes.
ridiculous.
It would be curious to see. It's kind of like the NFL where like you do sort of get into that gray area of like you have these people putting their body on the line for like entertainment, right?
Mhm.
Now that's being incentivized, right? Could that become problematic? I don't know. Like I'm not well versed enough in that conversation to make any judgments, but like the point is like what's happening in this like quote unquote mindless action movie is like a fucking craft.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, like
It's precise.
Yeah.
It's got to be a nightmare to like coordinate all of these moving parts.
yep.
Like, yeah, there's obviously not, 1,000 cars going around in a circle, but even if there's 2 or 3 cars that have to go around an actor, like
Yeah.
you gotta be precise, or you can end up
Pancaked.
being pancaked.
So the scene that happens after the
The
roundabout.
big scene after
Yeah.
this, Do you remember when we watched Malignant?
No. I mean, I remember watching *Malignant*, but
So
yeah,
Malignant has a scene
right.
where the main girl gets scared and she runs from her front door all the way around the house up the stairs, and it's this big tracking overhead shot that I was like,
Mm,
this is really cool.
yeah, right.
I wonder if they built the set and that's how it was, or if it's like all like CG or whatever. This is that, but like on cocaine.
Yeah,
It's this wonderful like overhead shot. If you've ever played Hotline Miami, if you have not played it,
I have not.
it's this. You
So,
remember the game I played? I made a game with zombies in it back from like the original Xbox.
okay.
It's like a zombie shooter.
Yeah,
No, yeah, zombies, and like you spin around in a circle.
yeah.
I think Halo has a top-down shooter like that too,
Yeah, I've seen top-down shooters before.
and it's that, but in film.
In film, there's a little scene during the montage of like the grunts who are gonna try their hand.
These
Yeah,
these these mongrels.
these brave, stupid souls. Which, but I mentioned this to you in the theater.
The
20,
amount, the
20
bounty.
million, not enough money. Shohei Ohtani, pitcher for the Los Angeles Angels, is projected to be the first MLB player with a $500 million contract. So that would be over like I don't know 8 to 10 years,
Uh-huh.
right? Like so that's $50 million a year
Hmm.
to throw a ball and bat, which he does
Very well, sure.
excellently, right? Well, it's not life risking.
No, I, at one point I saw the screen and I thought it said 2.0 no $1.8 billion, and I
Nope,
was like, sounds about
that
right.
sounds about right.
But then they show the
Only 20
matrix
million.
screen and
Yeah,
they changed it from 1.8 million,
yeah.
no, sorry, 18 million to 20 million.
Only 20
And
million.
I go, oh, that is not enough.
Yeah, not
You
huge.
think, I'm sorry, you think you, a little peasant assassin living in whatever place you are going to take down John Wick.
I mean, my best bet would be to like, since 40% of the population in this universe happens to be innocent. I mean, my best bet is honestly just like perch off, like wait on top of
Work on
a
your long
building.
sniping.
Yeah, which I mean, people fish, so like just as much of a waste of time, but with much more payoff. That's the play.
Yeah.
You just gotta hope you snipe them out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's got to be the only way.
yeah, yeah,
And the funny thing is, you mentioned that, but it's been proven that like you could snipe John,
for sure.
because in the first movie, Willem Dafoe's character, who was like
Oh, yeah, I
his like
remember.
adoptive father type figure,
Yeah.
he like he obviously is not aiming at him, but like he shoots through a window
Hmm.
to wake him up. At one point, John is like being choked out, and he snipes the dude through like a covered window.
He does get.
You could snipe John
Yeah,
Wick out.
John
These
does get. Does
people,
he get help in every movie? Is there at least one scene where he is about to
as
die and then he gets?
I think I don't think in the last one.
You mean this one or
No,
three?
in two. Sorry,
Okay,
I don't think in two he gets like
help.
his ass
Yeah,
saved.
but like in at least two of them, like
Yeah.
he's about to die and he gets
Hmm.
saved by somebody. So like if that's the case, if you know that he can get killed, then your play is honestly just to wait for that situation and like
Pop.
pew.
You could go in with the assist.
Yeah. So anyway, in this scene, there's a little shot where you see like
The
some of the
dragon's
guys
blood.
gathering, and then they get the dragon bullets, and you let out another bullet. Oh, and then, and then I saw those. I'm like, I think those shoot fire. And then I'm like, I can't wait. And then boy, oh boy,
Oh man,
yeah,
it's so good.
yeah,
So like you see a clip of this in the trailer. You just see a top-down shot and you go, "Oh, that looks like a really cool shot."
yeah,
But it's a whole ass scene.
yeah,
And it not just happens once. It's a very long, continuous,
yeah.
probably like 3 to 4 minutes straight. And then it goes down. You see a couple scenes. I think he's talking to Tracker,
Hmm.
and then it goes back up and it does it again for like another 5 minutes.
It's the Hotline Miami, but it's also those puzzles in Breath of the Wild where you have the ball that falls in the maze. I don't know to what
I
extent. Anyway, it's in the shrines where you have to like get this ball out of a maze with
oh,
your
okay.
thing, but
Yeah.
more fun.
More fun
Yeah,
because it's got Dragon Breath shotguns.
yeah,
So like I knew what Dragon Breath shotguns are because of Call of Duty.
they are in Call
I
of
think in
Duty.
Black Ops 1 or 2,
They're in there.
there's a scene where you get a Dragon's Breath shotgun, and I was like, well, that's gonna be so much fun. What that man can do with that shotgun.
Are those actually in under use by the U.S. military?
Oh, I don't know about I think those are like not
They can't
like
be. They can't be
civilian.
Geneva Convention worthy.
That sounds like the most unethical like
Yeah,
fucking thing you can do to a person because like
yeah.
not only are you peppering them with a shotgun
You're
shell,
just setting them on
you are
fire.
setting them on fire.
Yeah, there's no
I
reason.
mean, isn't that also why napalm is not
Yeah,
a thing
and then
anymore?
flamethrowers are also. I don't know. I think you're still allowed to use flamethrowers,
All
but
right.
like they toe the line. Of, like,
There's a certain degree of like
yeah,
inhumanity there. Like it's just so
it's almost like we should abolish the Second Amendment.
oh maybe. Bold
Maybe
statement about a movie where the people are getting
it's
blasted
nice in a
and I
movie.
love it.
It's nice in a movie.
It is nice in the movie.
Yeah,
But that scene to me when I saw this, that was a scene for me that went this no matter what else happens, I cannot in any way
this,
argue less than five.
this is what took me to 5 stars. And I was like, okay. Like the whole time, I was like, I just wish I had my book kill. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's the only thing this thing is missing, and it's just a bit too long.
Hmm.
And then once we got to here, I'm like,
God
got it,
damn.
got it.
God
Yeah,
damn.
I got it.
Uh,
And that's not even until the stairs.
that's not even the stairs. So yeah, so that takes us to the stairs,
Yeah.
which
Audible groan from the theater.
audible groan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that scene actually had like multiple audible groans.
Yeah.
The first audible groan is the hot lady in the radio goes, "Who's gonna climb the 222 stairs to the cathedral?" Like, oh, no. And people you can hear you go, "Ooh."
Yeah.
And then John is going. I was about to turn to Thano and be like, dude, it'd be so funny if someone like kicks him and he falls down like a section of it. Because it's like, it's in sections, right? It's not like 222 stairs straight up.
Straight up, right.
It's like
Half,
50 and
yeah.
then a thingy, then 50 and then the thingy, 50
Yeah.
and the thingy. And then he gets to the top and he just gets
You
yeeted.
just get this is
It
fun.
gets to the point where it's comical.
It is
Because,
because you can tell the moment. It's actually kind of like when my mom fell in Boca Raton.
please don't.
And then, granted, it was a very short distance, but
Thano.
but the way that fall took place, like somewhere extra momentum was picked up that just like threw her into the cabinet that like she crashed into.
God damn.
And you're like, I know tripping can be dangerous, especially for old people, but like witnessing that fall in action, you're like, how the fuck did this happen? And then like,
How do you pick up so much speed?
yeah, but he's like falling down these stairs, and there's a point where you're like, all right, it's done, and then
And
more
then he
momentum.
just keeps
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
And you know, someone had to have fallen all those stairs. And whoever that stuntman was, bless their heart. Because
Yeah,
that is 220 steps that you could have cracked something on.
stairs are dangerous.
Stairs are very
Stairs
dangerous.
are dangerous.
And I guess the only thing that I would say, okay, maybe these weren't as bad as like if you were on another staircase is because they're very like,
Mhm.
what would be the proper ways? Shallow steps?
Yeah,
Right? Because
yeah.
they're not
They're
huge
not
like
super steep, right?
12-inch steps, right?
Yeah,
They're smaller. But God, like him falling down those steps was so like that's where you got the audible groans from people going, "Oh no, he's got to go back up."
yeah.
But
He's got to make
he
it.
gets help.
He gets help.
Oh, before
None.
that, at the house back during the Dragon's Breath thing, um, he's about to kill Tracker.
Mm,
But then I think his name is Chiri, right? He's the like the henchman from for the Marquis,
the Spanish guy.
the Spanish guy.
Yeah,
He's going to kill
the doggy.
the dog.
Mhm.
And this dog already got a big hit. Like in the car chase scene, the dog gets thrown into a car and he bounces off.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh no, this dog is hurt. That dog gets up and bites someone in the nuts like a second later.
yeah.
But he's about to get shot. And John
John saves the
John
dog,
saves the dog, and
as is his want.
exactly.
Yeah.
John Wick is known for three things, right? Loving his wife,
Yeah.
killing people, and loving
Loving
dogs,
dogs.
right? And this definitely trumps killing people.
Yeah.
So he's willing to not kill Tracker and risk his own life to save Tracker's dog.
Yeah.
Which
Tracker takes no.
Tracker, yeah, it's the that Tracker will remember this meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he does. He ventures up. He helps out John and um, Donnie Yen
Right.
climb the steps, right? Because he's got a book it.
Right.
If he's not there, Mr. Krabs is going to count as
It's going to count him as absent.
as
None of this. None of this.
forfeit, right?
Yeah, none of this like a compassionate high school PBIS letting you walk into class
No,
2 seconds late.
if you are not there when sun rises,
Finito.
you are not only disqualified, your second also gets killed.
Yep.
Right. And so then we have another fight scene up the 220 flights of steps. But this time it's all three of them.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Spanish guy gets killed. Wonderful.
Which, if so I will have like some minor ticky tacky complaints in this movie.
Sure.
Because you have to find something. The movie does make it, it could even be under 3 minutes, but the movie does make it feel like 3 minutes have passed since the knockdown of the steps.
Yeah.
He gets knocked down at the steps at 6 a.m. Or the movie establishes that 6 a.m. has happened, maybe slightly off. It does feel like it's been more than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Till he gets back up.
And I think a lot of the times you can play with the logic of maybe some of the events happening
Exactly.
are happening concurrently. So you're just kind of like seeing things happen from like a different
Right.
angle at the same time span.
But that would require some uneven storytelling.
Yeah. And this one, I think you do feel like, all right,
It's been
whatever.
Yeah.
But like you said,
ticky
right?
tacky. Yeah, that's ticky tacky.
Exactly. And this is where you kind of get a feeling that something between the two of them, there's like an unspoken thing. He says, "You owe me one." Donnie stabs him in the hand,
Yeah.
and then he goes, "Okay, fine, now we're even."
Yeah.
But they have the duel,
Right.
right? And my dumbass, I was taking the 30 paces literal.
Oh, like
because I was counting the steps and I go, hey, that's 22 steps. That's cheating. But they have these like markers, right? So they go to the markers, and they're shooting at each other, and they have like 2 draws. Basically, they do like hit each other, but none lethal.
If no one dies, then you can move 10 paces.
Yeah, move
10.
Yeah,
paces
each of you move 5, so it's 10 paces forward.
So rule of threes.
Yeah. And so then the last shot, John gets hit in the gut.
Wait, Mr. Nobody is drinking a beer while this happens.
Yeah.
The doggy piddled on the Spanish guy.
Which I said, where did this man get a beer from? Because he's just so there's a couple of things.
He pulls it out of a fanny pack.
Either he pulls that out of a backpack, which that is some warm ass beer, or he stopped by a beer on his walk from whatever. But it's like 6 a.m. Who's open?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's Europe.
He gives his dog a beer.
Yep.
And you can see like the look of disappointment in his face when he thinks John is about to lose.
Yeah.
Right? Because he gets shot, but he does not get a shot out.
Right.
And as he's about to go for the kill shot, Mr. Pennywise, he's that ego, because he talks about ego a lot in the movie. And that specifically that scene where he's talking with Mr. Nobody.
Right.
He's like, that ego, you gotta watch it.
Yeah.
And
it takes over.
It takes over, right? He wants to be the one to kill
John Wick.
And I think that's got to do with also what Winston tells him.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you could be just another guy in a long line of people killed by John, or you could be the one to kill John.
Right.
And like that would cement you as like this like symbol to the high table. And I think that's why he's like
he needs to do it.
He's like, I want to be the one to do it. I want that final shot.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay.
Yep.
And man, I love how they call him out right away.
You arrogant asshole.
You arrogant asshole.
Yeah.
Man, it's so satisfying to see him just
Get it.
Just get it.
Yeah.
It's so simple too. It's not nothing fancy. He doesn't suffer.
Right.
It's just whoop,
Yep.
you're just another headshot in a long line of John Wick headshots.
Yeah.
But this one gets his freedom.
This one gets his freedom.
And
And so does Donnie Yen.
Donnie Yen makes sure he's like, hey, but you know,
Am I
this means
free?
my daughter's free, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And as soon as they take that note,
Right.
whatever.
Mr. Krabs is there to validate.
I was texting Amanda yesterday. I was like, "Fucking Thano!" Every time Clancy Brown shut up, he would go gaga gaga gaga, and I would just laugh.
Well, it was funny because at first when I saw him initially, I was like, "Is this Jeff Bridges?" And I'm like, "It's not Jeff Bridges."
It's Jeff
And then the
Bridges.
second time I saw him, I'm like, "Oh, it's fucking Clancy Brown."
It's fucking Clancy Brown.
And then I was like,
So John dies, right? They say he's dead. They show they show
There's
him
a
like fall
funeral.
over,
Yeah.
but like you never actually like see close up. Very
No.
ambiguous, but then you see a gravestone
Right.
with his headstone very touchingly saying like loving husband,
Loving husband.
right? And
It's
that's all he wants to be, and he's earned it.
Yep.
The dog turns at one point, like the dog's like staring, and he just goes, "Rrr."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so like it's left ambiguous enough that if they want to make a sequel,
They could.
if they want to bring John back, you can 100% say that John and Winston and these people were like, they just say he's died, he's dead, people will leave him
Right.
alone,
Right.
he will disappear and live on his life.
Yeah.
Could something happen to bring him back? Probably.
So I did my minor research. So apparently, Ballerina takes place in between 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
They meant to film 5 concurrently with
Mm-hmm.
4, but they did not.
What else could they have possibly? And after you film all this, I think I read that same interview where they were like, we would rather shoot like one
Yeah.
full concise
Keanu-
thing, not leave anything on the table.
Keanu says that he feels like he feels like there was a satisfying conclusion to the story.
It really is.
It is. Which then all right, so I said this at the end of the last one. And I feel like I'm willing, let's say they make 10 of these.
You're willing to eat your words?
I'm willing to eat my words every time. I'm willing to say, I don't know if
I don't know what the
another
fuck they
one
could do.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they could do. I don't know if another one is necessary. I don't know if another one would be just like more of the same. Because if you didn't have, let's just say you take out the Hotline Miami scene.
Mm-hmm.
How do you view this movie without just that scene? Everything else the same, but that scene
still a 4 out of at least a 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Exactly.
It's still fantastic. Yeah. And to me, I don't know if they could do another like almost 3 hour long movie.
No.
It seems like it's ridiculous that they could.
Well, because you would need to build up. Because like this whole arc was end of 2, all of 3, and then this movie.
Yeah.
Right. You would need to build up a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like a new major impetus.
Yeah, this is to me feels like Endgame.
Yeah.
Like I said. Like this is the movie that the reason why it's so long is because it's tying off all those loose ends essentially.
Exactly.
Yes, there's potential for spin-offs,
but
like
spin-offs.
the main threads that were set up in the previous have all been essentially resolved, I believe.
Correct.
I can't think of anything that has not been resolved.
Here's my one element of bittersweetness for this movie. With the first 3, I feel like I could watch those, and my opinion was you could make a case that any of these could be the best one.
Yeah.
This time, I think your options are pretty much like 1 and 4. Because 1 to me is the more grounded, character-driven one.
Yeah.
2 and 3 expand on the universe.
Mm-hmm.
They each get bigger, and then 4 is just like the biggest.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, you either want the more grounded, character-driven one,
mm-hmm.
or you want the biggest
insanity.
One. Yeah.
But again,
they're all amazing.
Is that a bad thing?
No,
it's not a bad thing.
But sometimes you have like when you look at series, you're like Breaking Bad. I think has the opposite. benefit where, in my opinion, I'm like, each of these seasons is better than the last one, which is rare for a show, right?
Mhm.
To have multiple seasons where each one improves.
Yeah.
Whereas this one's like, you look at all of these and you're like,
They're all
they're
different
all,
enough.
they're all,
They're all.
but they're all on like equal footing. But
Mhm.
now I think it is like there's four, there's one, and then two
Mhm.
and three are still amazing. But like,
Yeah. And it's really one of the best things about this series is like on Friday when I was supposed to be doing plan time at school, I went on YouTube and found out that our district is no longer restricting my YouTube account.
nice.
So I was able to go in and I was like, John Wick kill count.
Yeah,
And I watched like a 20-minute video of like all the kills in the John Wick series. And I was watching, I'm like, man, I can watch any of these scenes
yeah,
and be like, this scene is great. This
yeah.
scene is great.
They're all
This scene
great.
is great. This scene is
They're all
great.
great.
And it's so rare
Yeah.
that like you have a series where like everything in it
Every
stands out
yeah,
on its own, not just like oh reliant on the past.
right.
It's 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 so cool to have like a directing group
Yeah,
that just knows their craft and they stick to it.
yeah,
Like they're not trying to do anything like super philosophical. Yeah, it's great that they do have like really cool themes in the movies
right.
and you know that those things like work, but
But
that's
they're not
not what they're
pretentious
setting
themes.
out to
Yeah,
do. Like they're
exactly.
setting out to make a really good action movie.
And it is.
And I don't think there's anything I've told you so many times that like I really do believe that the Mission Impossible movies are like also like S tier action
I
movies.
was about to ask you, what's better?
Oh, John Wick,
Yeah,
100%.
and that's not even taking into account Scientology.
That's not even to get down Scientology. But it's just like you can see the passion that it's not just one guy doing this. Because
Yeah,
that's the thing. In Mission Impossible, it's really all Tom Cruise wants to do insane shit. And he's
yeah.
got, I think his name is Christopher McQuarrie, the director. He's like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. Let's have
And he's
fun.
got the Church of Scientology.
Yeah. But this is like you can tell like the whole group, everybody in this movie,
Loves
they want to make
an
a
awesome movie.
great,
Yeah,
awesome action movie.
yeah,
And if this is not the best movie of the year for me, whatever takes that spot has to be like
yeah,
absolutely amazing. I cannot think of anything that I can think of that I have on my list of the movies that are coming out that I feel could top this for me.
because this is just so well done, right?
I think the expression firing on all cylinders exists solely for like a movie like this.
A movie that could beat this would have to just like it would have to be in the other direction, or would just have to make me like it would have to just stimulate me like intellectually and like emotionally, right?
Yeah.
Like that would be that nothing on like nothing from a technical aspect I think is
Mm-mm.
gonna beat this movie.
No.
And like I know we like to shit on Avatar, but like and what James Cameron did was like amazing visually,
Sure.
right? But like I don't look at every shot in that movie and be like fucking gorgeous, like fucking
Hmm.
gorgeous. The movie is gorgeous, but here, like, if this movie were a flip book, right? You'd like look at every frame and you'd be like, amazing. And I guess
Hmm.
that films are flip books,
Hmm.
right? You're like, amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing, and yeah,
And you know, it's really funny because I think it was in one of the movies that we watched recently during the trailers. They played the trailer for John Wick, and we looked at each other and we were like, "Are we gonna make an episode on John Wick? What the fuck are we gonna talk about?"
yeah. How long are we going?
An hour and 8 minutes, but it just,
Plus and we Mandalorianed it, where we invaded our previous episode.
but it's just it warrants every discussion. Like I love that even people who are usually not into like action movies are like, this movie is fucking fantastic. Every person that I've talked to who has seen this movie has said either they're looking forward to seeing this
Yeah,
or they saw it and it's like amazing.
yeah,
Like no one that I've seen has been like, it was mid.
yeah. And if they do, they're stupid.
I haven't.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It
I
has
don't know.
a. I mean, obviously, this means nothing because the internet's word is
Poo poo.
poo-poo. But like, what does it have? 8.3.
So the average is 8.3.
Yeah.
um,
on
on Rotten
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes. The aggregate score for Rotten Tomatoes is 96%, which just basically means 96% of people gave it a fresh.
Yeah,
I am curious as to like what the 4% that brought it down would be.
they just must not know what they're like in for, or they're just trolling.
There's always those that like you watch and you like read the reviews and you're like, oh, this is someone who just wants to be contrarian.
Like, could you imagine actually liking the first three and not liking this one?
That's got to be so odd.
Yeah,
Oh, it went down, sorry, to a 95%, but it's at 234 reviews, which is still like
yeah.
fucking amazing. That this person said John Wick 4 is beautifully realized within its own context, but the context has become so disconnected from any reality. So myopic visually, so cartoonish without any rhyme or reason. Some are calling that minimalist. I call it boring. I'm sorry, if you watch this and you're
Minimalist?
bored,
Who calls this minimalist? Where is their minimalism?
this movie is the antithesis of minimal. This movie is
Yes.
so over the top.
Yeah.
If watching all that annihilation can and fake death is your idea of fun, this will be the bomb for those who like the little more emotional meat on their bone. It's thin broth, dude.
At this point, he just has a problem with the genre of action movie.
Yeah, yeah. This I cannot take those. That's like telling someone who hates horror movies to review a horror movie.
It's like telling someone who doesn't like ice cream to review ice cream.
Exactly. I said I didn't like ice. I said I didn't love it.
This show has been on for over a year, and you don't like ice cream.
Hey man, listen. How long have you known me for?
High school?
You should know that I don't like ice cream by now. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I've mentioned it.
I know you don't, but we've been to La Michoacana.
A self-indulgent mess lost in the Byzantine assassin underworld that has become the focus of the sequels.
The Byzantine assassin. It is self-indulgent, and that's not a problem.
No,
It's
payoff at this
here's
point.
what this movie is: the Parthenon.
Go
Right?
on.
Okay, you go to tourist places, or the Parthenon, or Washington D.C., and you're like, I don't want to like see the fucking monument. Like, I want to eat where the locals eat. I want to see how real people are. And you're like, yeah, that's fair. And then you see the Parthenon, and you're like, fucking get it. Like you see the Lincoln Memorial, and you're like, yeah, like this is dope. Have you been to the Lincoln Memorial?
Hell no, I haven't.
The Lincoln Memorial is awesome.
Well, that's cool.
It is cool, and you're like, all right, some historical shit, and you get there, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah. So this one, last one.
yeah.
John Wick 4 is a supersized all-you-can-eat buffet of the franchise's signature dishes, bullet-riddled revenge, teeth-chattering action sequences, and a gossamer thin characters. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Like, but even then, I would disagree with like the
They're
thin characters.
They're not gossamer thin.
No, they're still fun. Even
Yeah.
even the new characters, I think, are very very good. I'm excited for the sequel. By the way, end credit scene. They have Akira shows up and she goes after Kane as he's trying to approach his daughter.
Yeah.
So hopefully that pays out.
We will be curious to see where this goes.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, we've been talking about this for an hour and 12 minutes, and I think
Worth.
that's
Worth. So that
that's where we're gonna
we're
call
approaching
it, I
4 hours
believe.
of John Wick time between our watching and our speaking.
I came this close last night to going to see that 10:30 showing.
So I've had a marathon of church this week. It was church Friday night, church this morning. There'll be church tomorrow. And on the way back from church, I stopped at Panera, as one does. And for those who don't know, the Panera there's two Paneras in between my church and the theater.
There are.
But if I go towards the first one, I'm going towards the theater. I'm like, I could.
I could.
I needed my beauty rest.
But the fact that it's a 3 hour long movie and you still go, maybe I
Good.
should.
Didn't do that for Avatar.
I did not.
Didn't do that for
No,
Avatar.
did not.
Yeah.
It's so much more fun watching this than Avatar.
So much more
So
fun.
much more fun.
Avatar feels too long.
Avatar feels too long. This movie, if they release the hashtag release the Stahelski cut,
Yeah.
I will watch that 4 hour long cut. All right, everybody. We will be back soon with another episode of something.
Yes.
All right. Until next time, he is Thano.
He's Javier.
Bye.
Bye.